Please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard from the Military District of Washington and the playing of our national anthem by the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, please join me in a round of applause for the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard and the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you all for joining us today, and we're proud to say that this is the 8th year of the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. Today, the Department of Defense has the distinct honor of inducting 42 new employer partners into the partnership, all of whom have pledged to recruit, hire, retain military spouses, recognizing both their unique talents and the challenges military spouses face as they, too, serve our country. Our new partners today represent small and large organizations, including federal agencies, with both a national and international presence. We'll learn more about them in a little later, but now would be a good time to let you know that throughout today's and tomorrow's events, you can join us on social media with the hashtag MSEP2019, all one word. We are extremely pleased and honored to be joined by so many senior officials and leaders from within the Department of Defense and from our partner federal agencies today. Would especially like to thank the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Honorable David L. Norquist, for joining us today. Thank you, sir. And of course, we'd also like to extend a very special welcome to the many senior spouses in our audience today and to the many other distinguished visitors and leaders from both the public and private sectors. To all of you, thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to be with us today as we celebrate military spouses. Please have a round of applause, please. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our host for today's ceremony, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military, Community, and Family Policy, Mrs. A.T. Johnston. Mrs. Johnson is responsible for policies and programs that support the readiness and quality of life of military families, with a portfolio spanning family support centers, child care, military one-source, non-medical counseling, spouse employment and education, morale, welfare, recreation, and resale policy, the Defense State Liaison Office, casualty mortuary affairs and military funeral honors, and much more. She is also a proud military mom whose son will graduate this spring with the West Point class of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming for her remarks, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military Community Family Policy, Mrs. A.T. Johnston.
Thank you, Dave. I'm pleased to welcome you all here for the 8th Military Spouse Employment Partnership Induction Ceremony. We're excited to have you join us for this special event as we recognize our enduring partners and celebrate the induction of our newest class of partners into the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. This year, our theme is the power of connection, and the accomplishments of this partnership let us know just how powerful connections can be. We're honored to have so many distinguished guests with us here today. We're grateful for Mrs. Leah Esper's participation today, the Honorable David Norquist, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Honorable James Stewart, our leader in personnel and readiness, and the Honorable Cheryl Mason, a staunch military spouse advocate and leader with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and so many other leaders across the federal government. I'd also like to thank my wonderful team who organized and made this event happen. They are dedicated to making Military Spouse Employment Partnership a valuable resource for both military spouses and our partner organizations, and I appreciate their efforts. 2019 has been let's see. 29. I'm going to try to talk loud. 2019 has been a remarkable year for MSEP, and I want to commend our committed partners who have supported, recruited, and hired and retained military spouses over the years. Thank you for understanding how critical military spouse employment is to the well-being of the military families and to our national security. Military spouses experience unique challenges when it comes to finding and maintaining meaningful employment. To our enduring partner organizations who have stepped up, thank you. You've hired over 139,000 military spouses. Today, I'm also pleased to welcome the new partners who join in supporting the future of military spouses through employment. We're excited about the continued growth of the partnership and the new opportunities for our military spouses and your organizations as well. On that note, I have an interesting fact to share about the growth of this partnership. Several of the representatives who will be signing with new companies today are responsible for bringing in new MSEP partners. These were folks who were affiliated with MSEP partners at a previous job. They experienced firsthand the value of the partnership. They didn't keep it a secret, and instead, they asked their new employer to join the partnership as well. And that's how we're going to continue to grow this. This is my 3rd MSEP induction ceremony, and I'm so excited because I finally get to say these words. We've exceeded the 400 partner mark. Yes, we now have more than 400 industry-leading, forward-thinking organizations from all across business sectors on our team. This year, it is also worth noting that we will induct the largest class of federal agency partners to date. The federal agencies joining the partnership today include the Department of Veterans Affairs, the United States Department of Agriculture, Food Safety and Inspection Service, the Department of Homeland Security, and the United States Census Bureau. As I mentioned in my welcome, Cheryl Mason is here representing VA. She has been instrumental in bringing several agencies in, and we want to say thank you for that. All of these agencies have answered the call to increase spouse employment within the federal government and enhance the non-competitive hiring authorities for military spouses. This is a huge step in the right direction, and next year, we hope to add even more federal agencies. I'd also like to ask our enduring partners to stand up. You're an enduring partner. All right. In just a moment, each of our new partners will be recognized as they come up on stage to sign their pledge to be part of the Military Spouse Partnership. We still have plenty of work to do, and each year thousands of spouses join their service members on this journey, and we need to ensure they've got the jobs they want. So, let's set a goal, and let's set a big goal. Who here thinks that by this time next year, we can have 500 partners? I'm glad to hear that applause because I certainly do. I believe that we can get there. And to reach that goal, we all have to pitch in and dig deep. I'm asking each of you to promote Military Spouse Employment Partnership to everyone you know who might be a good fit. What companies do you work with who would be good for this partnership? Please share your experiences with the program, the connections you have made, and the relationships you have formed. Let others know about the skills, abilities, and work ethic of military spouses you have hired on your team. Spread the word that hiring military spouses just makes good sense. It's good for business and supports the financial welfare of our military families. And when you have another company that's a good fit for the partnership, let our team know. And speaking of our team, I'd like to invite my Nina Hawkins to come to the stage. Most likely, everyone in this room who has had any interaction with the partnership has either gotten a phone call or an email from my Nina. I just thought it was appropriate that everyone could actually see her face because my Nina sleeps, eats, and breathes employment opportunities for military spouses, and I could not appreciate what she does more.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you all for your commitment, your passion, and your recognition of the value of military spouses in the workplace. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Honorable David Norquist. Mr. Norquist, your support and commitment for military spouses is so greatly appreciated.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? All right, so my understanding is as long as I don't lose the letter P, I can use this microphone, right? Which for a partnership program is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see if we can get through this. So good afternoon. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson, for everyone for helping to ensure the success of the Military Spouse Employment Program. Let me also thank, who's soon to be arriving, Second Lady Karen Pence for championing the needs of our military families, Mr. Stewart for his leadership of personnel and readiness, Mrs. Esper, Mrs. Milley, and the other senior leaders and spouses in attendance today, and of course, my immediate boss, Secretary Esper, who has made the well-being of our service members and their families a critical part of, our national defense strategy. As Mrs. Johnson said, we have a lot to celebrate. Over the past 8 years, the MSEP has welcomed over 400 partners who have hired over 139,000 military spouses. That's an incredible accomplishment. This represents remarkable progress to address an important issue for our nearly 1 million military spouses. 82% of these spouses are looking for work, but 24% of them are unemployed. They face many challenges, including frequent PCS moves, deployment, work-life balance issues, child care difficulties, and license portability. These factors make it extraordinarily difficult to maintain and rebuild careers. They take a toll on family well-being and increase financial and mental stress during an already stressful time. This is where each of us comes in. During my 30-year career in national security, I have grown to better understand the burdens our military families face and the importance of honoring the service of the spouses who work so hard and sacrifice so much to support our troops. Last week, I spoke with the Council of Governors as part of a regular meeting we had, and we highlighted with them both the progress that several states have made to break down the barriers to spousal employment and licensing, but also how much more there is to be done. And those governors committed to making progress on this essential issue, and we look forward to working with them to ease this burden across the country. The Department will continue to call on states to emphasize this, including signing on to interstate compacts and standardizing requirements for licensing. As you may have heard before, we recruit the service member, but retain the family. That is why Secretary Esper has made taking care of military families a priority for the Department of Defense. Each company represented here today is a critical part of that strategy. Your participation in the MCEP and your hiring of military spouses bolsters the readiness of our military and strengthens the total force. We have already seen the impact of your efforts. This May, the Department held its first ever MCEP virtual hiring fair to connect the military spouses with partner employers and offer additional resources through the Spouse, Education, and Career Opportunities Program, including resume reviews, mock interview sessions, networking, and other support. The hiring fair was a great success, with more than 120 MCEP partners in attendance. Many of them hired military spouses as a result, and some of those companies are here with us today. The Department will host more virtual hiring fairs in the future with different industries, including healthcare and technology, to bring together spouses and employers seeking talented and experienced workers. And we are just getting started. We will continue to improve our programs to increase the quality of life for our service members and their families. One of the ways we plan to do this is a new roadshow concept coming soon, which will take our DoD programs on the road. A lot of work is done on the ground and at the installation level, which means the services play key roles in the success of this program. We will work with the services to identify installations around the country that could use MCEP support, especially those that are highly populated or have low levels of spousal employment. We will visit these installations to meet military families, listen to their concerns, and guide them to the resources that fit their needs. Introduce them to MCEP partners and help them find military-friendly employers through their job search. We'll make sure they know about Military OneSource and the Military and Family Life Counseling programs and bring their message back to leadership so we can continue to improve our programs. Today, we celebrate 42 companies who are making great strides to provide a home to military spouses. These new partners are hiring spouses, working with the military installations to promote spousal employment, spearheading social media campaigns on this issue, and strengthening the MCEP partner network. Your organizations are helping us advance the National Defense Strategy by bolstering the readiness of the strongest fighting force in the world. Thank you all for being part of such an important mission. We are proud to induct you as members of the 2019 class of MCEP partners. And without that, before I wrap up, let me introduce our guest speaker, Mrs. Barbara Ashley. Mrs. Ashley is the spouse of the Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Army Lieutenant General Robert Ashley. Today, she will share her own personal journey and experiences as a military spouse. We are thrilled to have her with us today, and please join me in welcoming Mrs. Barbara Ashley.
Thank you so very much for allowing me to share my story with all of you. But before I begin, I want to thank Maria McConville, the Chief of Staff of the Army spouse, for having faith to let me fill in for her. I would also like to thank Manina for all the support she has given to me personally while getting this together. When Maria asked me if I would fill in for her, my initial thought was, I am not a good speaker. But I can usually tell a pretty good story, so I thought I'd try to do that for all of you today. When I began my spouse journey 34 years ago, I had no idea that I would move nearly 20 times or that my husband would stay in the military this long. I never gave much thought as to what my role would be, how this nomadic lifestyle would influence my life and my career. I wasn't a teacher or a nurse, and back in the day, those were great jobs to have if you moved a lot, although even they had license and certification issues when you crossed state boundaries. I worked all kinds of jobs, and there have been challenges. My first job as a travel agent was in 1990. When I started interviewing fresh out of travel school, I hit a serious roadblock. The first company I interviewed with wanted to pay me $1,200 a month. And you think, okay, well, $900 a month for childcare. So when I told them it wasn't going to be worth my time, she pretty much told me I wouldn't get a job anywhere as a military spouse, making much more than that, starting out as a travel agent. So I told her I guess I'd stay home with my children. Then I interviewed with 2 retired military officers, and they were the best damn fighter pilots the Marines and the Navy ever had. They were Top Gun before Top Gun, or so they said. But they got it. They gave a young mom in a new location wanting to support her family and add to the income. They paid me a fair wage, and in return, I helped build their travel agency and was a dedicated and hard worker. Countless of my friends tell horror stories of interviewers asking, "How long will you be in the area?" Well, heck, if we knew that, wouldn't life be great? Most duty assignments for us have been around 2 years, some longer, some much shorter. And every military spouse will have a different experience based on what their military member does. All kinds of things factor in. Deployments. Do we move close to family? Do we stay where we are to stabilize the kids? There are many challenges. When we were at Fort Gordon, the schools closest to post were not good, and I needed my kids in a good school district. The only options for me were I could put them in the bad school district. I could pay for a private school, which was $28,000 a year for 2 kids. I could homeschool, but being the extrovert I am, that was out. And I could go to a great school in the next county if I could get a job at the middle school. So I set out and I made that a mission. For me, we had 1 year off post before we had to move on posts. So the very first day of middle school, I said to the principal, I need a job. I don't care what I'm doing, but next year I'll have both my kids at this middle school, and I want them to stay because it's the best school my kids have ever been to. And she came through for me. So I was able to not make very much money, but if you factored in an additional $28,000 that I didn't have to pay out, it was actually worth it. So over the years, I've sold advertisement for a newspaper. I've been a secretary, a travel agent, an office manager. I've worked in schools as a teacher assistant and in the office staff. I volunteered with my kids' sports, schools, scouts, spouses clubs, and other community organizations, as have so many of my friends and other spouses. You do what you can do as a military spouse to feel connected to the community and to yourself and family. I am encouraged by all the jobs spouses can now do remotely. In 2011, I started my own home-based travel business. The timing was right for me to start my business with more people being able to work from home. Travel is my passion, and it works for me. I wish the options that you are all being presented with today would have been available for me and my friends when I was a younger spouse. Military spouses are a unique and wonderful group. We volunteer, we jump into community activities. We are planners, we are accountants, we are caretakers, we are hardworking, dedicated, and we are resilient. We offer so much to the companies across our country. We come from all ethnic backgrounds, and because of this, we understand diversity and different cultures. We adapt quickly to our changing communities. We may not be able to work for you for 30 years, but while we are with you, we will give you our all. We are experienced and don't need to start at the ground floor every time we PCS. You will not be sorry that you hired a military spouse. They will always contribute more than they receive. I want to personally thank the companies that are here with us today. You have signed on to hire some of America's best employees. I feel confident that this will turn out to be one of your best business decisions ever. And I thank you for the time. And I will be followed by MSET partner Magellan Healthcare, Mr. Oscar Montes, and Mrs. Susan Troutman.